I see so much potential in this guy. He has so many tools, and somebody just can see what I see. This guy is just a star, a complete star. I hope one day to see that happen. When I'm at home watching with my kids and my wife saying, "Yeah, that's effing Adam, and he's tearing stuff up, and it's great."
Thank you, brother.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.
Our first guest is a rising star who, first and foremost, is a U.S. Army veteran, and I thank you for that service. He's been making his name known on the independent scene for about 5 years now, and he has quite the history and is actually current tag team champion, one half with our legend today. Please welcome Adam Payne.
What's going on? How we doing?
What's up? Ooh. Good.
what a heel move to boom me out here. Also, yeah, right. just for some housekeeping, I now go by Kerr. Only with Mr. Crowbar do I go by personal pain.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know. Well,
he's already confusing with the listeners.
Hey, I wear many hats, my friend, not just this orange hat. All right, I wear a lot of hats.
Orange hat guy.
Kerr, personal pain, thank you. And our next guest is a legend in the industry. One of only 2 wrestlers I know that I'm aware of who can say they wrestled for, get ready, WCW, ECW, TNA, WWE, ROH, GCW, and that's only a few of the hundreds, I'm sure.
And we could add in, we could add in as of July, Jim Crockett Promotions, the StarCast show.
Perfect, yes.
The WWF before it even turned to an E. What about that one?
And TNA and Impact, both of them, right?
Yes,
both,
yes.
Yeah.
MLW as well.
MLW,
early on in its infancy.
Well, you heard it. I mean, absolutely legend and is timeless. Please welcome Crowbar.
Yeah,
love it. No, it's so cool to have you both here, and with the history you guys have, the relationship, that's also awesome for the concept. And Crowbar, you're going through really a career renaissance right now. I've heard you say it, I've heard other people say it, and I'd love to hear what you've been up to most recently.
Yeah, it's been I really don't know what you call it. Some people have called it a career renaissance. I have adapted that, I guess. After WCW, I made attempts to try to get into WWE, had a few dark matches, great reactions, just nothing materialized. I was in TNA for a short cup of coffee or two, nothing materialized. And then WCW was gone, ECW was gone, and there was a logjam of talent trying to get a very few spaces. And the likelihood of getting in somewhere was just not there. So I identified that, and I never say quit. Maybe no isn't no, it's just not now. I took many steps back, got married, had a few kids, opened the business, focused on that. I still stayed on the independent scene maybe once, twice a month. I even went times where it was 4, 6, 8 months without a show. But I stayed in there enough to feed my love of it, enough to have fun, enough to participate. But if you weren't a wrestling fan in northern New Jersey, you probably thought I either died or retired. So I took many, many steps back. Fast forward to like 2019, the kids are older, business is more stable. I have more employees, which allowed me to get out more. And for whatever reason, I have no idea why, I usually stay just around New Jersey within an hour, hour and a half tops. But I accepted an independent show booking in Baltimore, Maryland. And I went down there and I met up with Kevin Eck, who I had known from WCW. He actually wrote for WCW magazine. And I had no idea that he had worked for WWE. I had no idea that he had, at that time, was writing for Ring of Honor. And he was like, wow, you really look good out there. You could still move. I'm really shocked. So that fast forwarded us to December of 2019 when we had that shot with Ring of Honor, myself, my wife, Adam, and we really had a chance to present this idea that I've had for quite some time. Those two shows for Ring of Honor before the pandemic really was like, wow, this is what it's like to do big time stuff again. I'm having a good time. It's fun. And that kind of lit a fire under my ass to kind of pursue larger shows, larger dates, and really push myself to see what we could do as myself, and mostly as I love doing our group thing whenever I could get that going with Adam and my wife, and I really believe in it. I think it's unique. I think the look is great, and I think as a group we have a lot to offer, both as singles and as tag guys. I really don't know what this is, but I'm having a hell of a time doing it.
It's so awesome to hear that you stuck with it and you really like evolved with the industry too along the way. And I agree, by the way, what you guys are doing right now is super unique. Just as a fan, it's really cool. And Kerr, I want to throw it to you now and really start at the beginning of your journey. What led you to go into the service, and then what led you eventually to wrestling?
So joining the Army, it was kind of, I was working right out of high school. I tried to go to college, and I was working full time, doing construction every day. And it was a good job. It was just it was a dead end job, so I wanted to do something more, I wanted to go to college. So I joined the Army in 2009. I did a little over 4 years, served 1 year in Afghanistan, came home, and first thing I did, I said, you know what? I did this to go to college. I'm going to go to college. So I went to Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck. I got a combined degree. I did a 5-year program in 3 years. Sorry, got to put myself over a little bit.
That's impressive.
And I walked away. I took courses every winter, every summer, during the fall and spring, 7 classes a semester. And I ended up graduating with a 3.4. Graduated with a bachelor's and a master's degree in forensic psychology. While I was doing that, I've always been avid in the gym. As you know, this small camera can't see. I'm a little bit wider than the screen. I had gotten a little tendonitis in my elbow. I went to my orthopedist, and I said, this is really bothering me. I said, I'm trying to push through the pain. And he said, are you a wrestler? I said, no, I'm not a wrestler. I'm just big for no reason, I guess. And so he said, I'm sending you to a physical therapist who is a wrestler. Maybe you'll know him. So I said, okay, I don't know. I don't know who Chris Ford is. Who's Chris Ford? So I walk into a physical therapist place, and there is a guy who I was a big WCW fan growing up, and I had seen Crowbar. I said, holy crap, it's Crowbar. And a couple weeks prior, I had gone to my first independent wrestling show, and I saw Crowbar versus Joey Janela for JCW in Hasbrook Heights, VFW. And they absolutely tore the place down. That was my very first exposure to indie wrestling. I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest with you. And I was like, wow, I'm like, this was incredible. So then, I got this professional working on my elbow, and it was, friendship right there. We just started, shooting the breeze. I don't want to curse on your show.
Yeah, feel free.
So we were just talking, and it wasn't just about wrestling. It was just about life, everything, school, training, how to not be a dummy, as he would call me, and hurt myself training. And and then he guided me in the right direction to start wrestling school. He's the one that got me in this crazy world.
I
love that. Yeah.
Without a doubt. And he's responsible for, getting me into this world, and always giving me advice, whether it's, a 3-hour time. I just did a show in Alaska a couple of weeks ago for 907 Pro Wrestling. And, I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning there, and I'm sending you messages asking, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And, if I do something good, hey, that was great. If I do something that was good and dumb, like, you know, maybe I might have done a moonsault off the ring apron a time or two. And I knew I was going to do it. We're going to talk about that real quick.
Yes.
I knew I was going to do it. And I said, hey, can you stay and watch my match, please? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So I do it. The match was great against Smiley. And he comes back.
Oh, Smiley. He was just on the show, last guest. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And he comes back, and we had a great match. And right before COVID all started, and Crowbar comes in the locker room. He hugs me, said, looked great. Never do it again. And he pointed his finger in my face and said, never do it again. And I've never done it again.
We could talk about it. And I said it looked great for a highlight reel. The camera does no justice. He's gigantic. He's a huge dude. So in order to pull off this move, we had a bunch of wrestlers in security gear, you know, to help make this big catch. And in reality, and this is something that I got later on in my career. You know, it's great to do all this wild stuff, but if he were to hypothetically go to a bigger company, this show's about like mentorship, new guys and younger guys, right? Correct? This is what we spoke about. So if he were to go to WWE, he's 300 and something pounds. Him moonsaulting on somebody to the floor could potentially hurt him and another talent. You know what I mean? And you also need 5 guys to pull off this stunt. If someone ever wanted him to do it, the capacity is there, the ability is there. If you set the stunt up the proper way, but for him to do this again on an independent show where, you know, there may be new guys that maybe might not know how to catch him as well, or not quite the right way. You know, there's just, in my opinion, knowing what I know after 31 years, we know that he can do the move. He's already pulled it off. Right now, the risks outweigh the payoff for it. You know, you save that until you're somewhere and management says, hey, we need you to flip. Then, you know, then he could go and do it.
Right. And at least you have the experience of doing it, right? But yeah, I totally see where you're coming from.
And it did look amazing. It did look amazing.
I could only imagine. Yeah, was this a springboard or was this just a straight up moonsault? Okay.
Right off the apron.
This was just straight off the apron.
Nice.
Glad I didn't have to catch it.
Yeah.
But I don't have to catch that.
And there were, you know, it was great. I mean, it was an adrenaline. It was actually one of those things that I just, you know, I trust my ability. I'm probably a little over 375, maybe close to 380. But you know, I don't have cement in my shoes. I'm very light on my feet, you know.
Nice. Yeah.
It looked great.
Oh my God. It must have been,
no, never again, unless there's a lot of zeros on the end of that paycheck.
Crowbar, we heard what you're up to now, and as you just said, 31 years. Where did it all start for you? What's that beginning journey like getting into wrestling?
The beginning journey would probably be when I was like 6 or 7 years old. Grew up in a little Cape Cod. My dad and my brother, who's 10 years older than me, my dad and my brother would watch it late at night, and my bedroom was diagonal to the living room, and I would wait for them to turn it on late at night with the Channel 9 show, and I would peek through the door and not go to bed and watch wrestling. And that was my first memory. And as I got older and I went through grade school and middle school and high school, I just became a larger fan of it. My love of the business became more and more, and it got to the point where being a fan just wouldn't be enough. And I knew around age probably 14 or 15 that this is something that if I could find a way in, that I would definitely pursue.
Yeah. And when you first did actually break into it, what were your first steps getting into the business, becoming a fan, from a fan to a wrestler?
Like I said, I always wanted to do it, but I wasn't quite sure how. And it was meant to be. It found me. So my brother-in-law's brother knew somebody who knew somebody, this guy named Tom Rumsby, who worked in a bicycle shop in East Rutherford. It was called General Bicycle. And somehow they struck up a conversation. I have no idea how these guys would even come to meet each other and how the information would get back to me. So again, meant to happen.
Right. Yeah.
And it gets back to me that he's planning in a year and a half to open up a pro wrestling school with Iron Mike Sharp in Brick Township, New Jersey. And I go down, I meet this guy, and he's pretty sure this is going to happen. Bricktown's not too far. Maybe it's an hour and a half drive. So I start making plans. I get a job at a local catering hall on Friday night, all day Saturday, sometimes all day Sunday. I would work at the catering hall, and I save my pennies, I save my money, and about a year and a half later, I joined Iron Mike Sharp's pro wrestling school in Brick Township, New Jersey.
I love to hear it. And it's training with someone like Iron Mike Sharp. What was that experience like?
Mike was I love Mike to death. God rest his soul. Very, very quirky, very well documented that he was very quirky. Mike, and at that time, it didn't seem weird or foreign to me. But now, if I go to work out at a wrestling school, I'll wear shorts, t-shirt, maybe a tank top, sneakers, boots, maybe, what have you. Just working out. Mike trained us like he was going to wrestle at the Garden. Black trunks, black boots, forearm band, oiled up. Like Mike he trained us like he was going to go do 15 minutes at the Garden. It was crazy. But at that time, I had no other experience to base that off of, so it just seemed normal. Now, in hindsight, it was crazy, totally crazy. And Mike taught us, like, he was old school. He protected the business. He really didn't smarten us up to a lot of stuff. He laid his stuff. He taught us, but he laid his stuff in, and we kind of learned more about the business as we went along and started getting real shows and started being out there with more journeymen and guys that have been around. Like, it wasn't like we joined the school and the whole curtain was pulled back right away and then we saw everything that was there. The information was trickled out to us a little bit at a time. And in hindsight, it was a unique experience. We still talk about it. Guys that went to Mike Sharp's school, when we get together and we talk, like, yeah, Mike really protected it, and he really made us work for the information. He trickled it out a little bit at a time. Get a little crumb here, little crumb there, and then but it was a really great experience. And then I also became aware of the East Coast Pro Wrestling School in Parsippany, New Jersey, which was a little closer to home. I started training there as well, just because it was easier to get to. And then I also spent a lot of time training one-on-one with Bill DeMott as well.
Right. And so, Adam, for your training now, obviously it started after you met Crowbar, like you were saying, and Crowbar has helped along the way. What is some advice you've picked up along the way? Some meaningful advice?
From Crowbar or just
from Crowbar? Yeah.
Man, hold on. I got an encyclopedia or something. I mean, it's just, too much. Always, number one rule is always be safe. It doesn't matter how good something looks. If somebody on one end of it is getting hurt, then it really means nothing. That's really probably the biggest thing. Have fun, enjoy it. That was one of the things. I had a tryout in 2019 with the WWE at the PC, and I was nervous as hell. Obviously, I was under 2 years in at that point. I was still, by my accounts, a rookie, and I always try and learn, every day, every match, Even to this day when I train, I always try to pick up something. And so I'm nervous and I'm getting myself, in tip top shape, and one of the things that I remember him continuously saying to me throughout the process of going down there is, remember to enjoy it. It's something special. Whatever happens, just enjoy it. And I remember day one, nervous, butterflies, nauseous, everything, working hard. And then day two, it was just kind of like it was almost like he was standing next to me and just telling me, enjoy this. This it's not something everybody gets to do.
Right.
Even just wrestling. There's times that I just, I still to this day, and I don't even think I've told you this, Crowbar. Sometimes I'm at a venue and there's a bunch of people, and I'll just stand there and I just kind of look around and I really do take it all in because one day it's my last match. One day it's my last time in front of a crowd. Whether I plan it or something else plans it, so that's something I do. That's probably, the second most important thing is just enjoy the ride, because it is a lot of work. It's really not easy.
Just to take it all in.
It takes a toll. Yeah, take it all in and enjoy everything, the good, the bad.
No, for sure. And Crowbar, do you remember speaking with Kerr before that WWE tryout? How you felt knowing he was going to get one? Yeah.
I was very proud when he was going, and I'm actually shocked that they didn't get picked up. I see so much untapped potential in Adam, and way far beyond with what I'm doing. If our thing here, either as like the bodyguard or associate / tag team partner, is a launching pad for something bigger, that's my hopes for him. I'm going to keep on going as long as I can. When I can't do it at a respectable high level, I'll just walk away. And I'm hoping that I would have left a great impression. I would have had a hell of a lot of fun. There's still a lot of stuff that I would like to do. But at the end of the day, seeing Adam go on and do great things would be unreal and really an awesome thing to watch. That's my hope.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool to hear. I love the mentor relationship.
This is just a start for him. This is just a start.
Absolutely.
This is wherever it goes for me. This is probably the last rung of whatever's going to go on, however long it lasts. But it's just a start for him. That's my belief.
I tell Crowbar all the time, there's a good chance that, my kids are stepping inside the squared circle and he's still going. And he's I mean, look at him. He walks into a locker room. The timeless isn't a gimmick. He walks into a locker room. He's in better shape than 95% of the locker room. Mm-hmm. Just the way, he wrestled. I mean, he wrestled me. We had a match at Rescue Mania for, 45 minutes we went, and we get into the back, and he's talking to me like he is right now. Just incredible shape. He takes it seriously. He's always ready. He's legitimately always ready. And that's, that's something to look forward to too. And that's always, being my size, I've gone with him very long. He was my third match, actually. My third match ever. And I thought I was in deep water. I mean,
yeah.
I'm this greenie that he asked to work with, which I, was over the moon ecstatic for. And again, nervous because why does Crowbar want to wrestle with me? and even just that was such a learning experience. And, and just knowing that I can go, I can keep up with somebody of his caliber, I could hold my own, and we can make magic together is, whether we're on the same team or across the ring from each other, is something that I genuinely do, hold near and dear to my heart.
Always a great time. Always a great time.
It's just such like a pure relationship. I love to see it, just to be like a fly on the wall for it. Crowbar, for you, I've heard you say that you really connect with today's culture of wrestling in the locker room behind the scenes more than you did when you first broke in. And I just love to hear from somebody who's been around so long what that difference is to you, that why you resonate more with the stars of today.
I like to say I have 1 foot in the old school, 1 foot in the new school. And uh, when I broke in, the wrestling culture was crazy. And I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking anybody or anything like that, but it was a crazy culture, party like a rock star, drugs, all kinds of wild stuff. And that's why a lot of the guys we grew up watching are they're dead, unfortunately. Uh, I was a full-time student as I pursued pro wrestling, and that was back in the days before online classes. So I would go to independent shows and I would have my books with me. I was in ECW for almost a year, and I would bring my books to the arena, and that didn't go over all too well. I had my books
in ECW
thrown in the garbage, and I think I was probably one of the first guys to bring your video game system on the road, and I would bring it in the hotel room. Hey, bro, let's go. We're gonna go out. We're gonna tear it up tonight. Nah, I got work to do, and I'm going to play some video games. And it just didn't resonate with that culture at that time. So fast forward, and I'll use 2007 as a reference point. I had my son, Nicky's born, and a lot of people said, "Oh, is he going to be a wrestler too?" And I said, "Absolutely not. There is no way in hell my son's going to be a wrestler," because at that time the culture was still crazy. So years go by, and I've honestly took a lot of steps back. I only accepted a lot of local shows, and when I went ask Adam now, even now I often do it a lot. I would show up to shows dressed. I would wrestle and I would leave because I had family stuff to do. Spend very little time in the locker rooms, in the culture. Now, with the past 2 years or so, I'm out there more, and I've been exposed to this new culture of younger guys who they play video games, and they might go out and have a beer or two, but they don't get too nuts. There's a few crazy guys still, but the overall culture has changed so much. It's less toxic, it's less destructive. And somebody asked me recently, would you have a problem with your son being a wrestler? And I looked at it and I said, as long as he has something else to fall back on, like I did, where you're not dependent on this business, I have no issue at all with my son wanting to be a pro wrestler now, because the culture is so changed, it's so different, and it's way different than the culture that I broke into 31 years ago. Way different.
Right. I heard you mention the video game thing as well before, and I was wondering, what games were you playing? Out of curiosity back then.
At that time, I was probably bringing my Sega Genesis on the road with me.
And none of the ECW guys picked up on that. There were no gamers back then.
I got a Sega Genesis kicked across a hotel room. Thank God it did not break. When I opted not to go out to the bar and instead opted to stay in. But I'm not going to divulge who did that. It's water under the bridge. We're all older and wiser and grown men now, so that's not important. But it was not well received at that time.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that.
Learning experience.
Are you in
ECW?
Oh yeah.
I will say ECW. I really did not fit in. I was not well received there. Did not fit in to the culture. But I do say this over and over again. It was one of the best periods of growth for me as a professional wrestler, but as a person as well. It really grew a thick skin. There were times where I hated it, but and there were many times when I asked myself, "This is horrible. The environment's not good for me. These guys hate me." But I love wrestling so much that I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna persevere. I'm still gonna go. So it really built character, and I thank God every day for my time there, because being faced with adversity like that, it helps me. It helped me later on in wrestling, but it helped me in life as itself. So, I mean, a lot of people would look back and have harsh feelings. It was one of the best things that I ever went through because it just gave me so much growth and it just made me a stronger person. So I really I cherish that time now because it was so good for me.
It's cool to look at both the bad and the good there. I love that. Yeah. And Adam, for you, I mean, you're a rising star in the independent scene right now. Do you resonate with what Crowbar is saying? Is it like a good culture? Do you feel comfortable in it? Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, everybody kind of looks out for each other for the most part. You know, obviously you get your guys you click with. You know, obviously if me and Crowbar are on a show together, we ride together. I train with Damian Adams and me and the guys from there. You know, we even at this point just to hang out, you know, even if we're not booked on a show, hey, you got a space in the car? I'll take the ride. Let's go, you know. And it just, you know, and it's always, you know, I have a match and I send it out and I say, hey, you know, help me get better, you know, and in return, we all do the same thing. You know, we're all looking out for each other. I feel like now, I mean, I can't speak to back then, obviously, because Crowbar's been wrestling almost longer than I've been alive. But, you know, I feel like now people, they want to protect their spots, but they also understand, you know, if you're looking for a guy like Crowbar, you're not considering a guy like me. You know, everybody brings something different to the table.
Yep.
So I think that kind of eases up the reality of that. I think kind of eases people, you know, because you know everybody brings something different to the table. You know, you're not going to find, you know, for me, I'm not concerned about losing a spot to someone because you're not going to find many people that are overhead pressing 300-pound men easily and walking around with them. You know, I'm confident in my abilities, so I feel for me, and I know for Crowbar as well, it eases it. It makes it a lot easier for us to open up to other people, you know, because there's not that threat, you know. And I just feel nowadays, you know, with social media, it's a lot easier for people to keep in contact with each other. So it makes that, you know, as wrestlers, you know, you see the wrestling side of things. You know, you may see what Kerr's doing on the weekend and where he's going to be, but then also you see that, oh, well, 5 days a week, Adam's coaching kids and he's doing this with veteran, and you know what I mean? So it humanizes them. You're like, oh, okay, like this guy is not a bad guy, you know. On the flip side of that, you could also tell by social media who are the people you should maybe stay away from. You know,
it's a good point. Yeah, not even just in wrestling, right? No, that's so true.
Without a doubt. You know, you can only pretend you can only pretend to be something for so long before, you know, the real person starts seeping through, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned it just now with where you said how you're pressing people over. We said it earlier. So you're about 380 pounds and 6'4", I think, right?
Yes,
is that wow? So who are some of the big men that you grew up watching and maybe you try to you know, in the ring put on? Yeah, who are some of those guys?
So I mean, from a fan's perspective, The Undertaker was my guy. I mean, when I was a kid, I learned how to roll my eyes at the back of my head because of him.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
so cool.
you know, I was like, oh man, it's so terrifying. I want to try and do it. You know, just from an in-ring persona is, I love Vader. Vader was a legitimate, you know, he was big, but he was also legitimate, you know. Same with Mark Henry. Mark Henry, you know, freakishly strong and honestly also one of the nicer people I've ever met in wrestling. I've met him at several veteran events, not even wrestling events, where he does a lot of work with veterans, and I would just talk to him about lifting because he, you know, legit. I don't know if anybody knows this, but he's legitimately like the world's strongest man. Is not a gimmick. That's a real life thing. He's freakishly strong. So, you know, and that I want to, when I come through the curtain, you don't want to see me doing apron moonsaults and, you know, and 450 splashes. You want to come out and you want to see me beat people down like Vader. You want to see me overhead press people like Mark Henry, like it's like they're a child. and I feel like
he's leaving one out though. He's
What's
leaving
that?
one out. Who do I always say? Adam's big. He's strong, as freakishly strong as hell, but he's quick and fast. So I always tell him when I do cardio and I watch old stuff, dude. I watch Boss Man do this. You need to watch that. He reminds me a lot of
comparison.
Big Boss Man, because Big Boss Man was big. He was a big boss man. He was big, but he was very, very, very fast. And a big thing, all his stuff was super safe. So I always tell him, hey, I saw Boss Man with Kurt Hennig. Watch this. I saw Boss Man with this guy. Watch this. Watch this. So he reminds me a lot of Big Boss Man, Big Bubba Rogers, whatever. But I mean, that's who I see. Adam, who is just freakishly strong on top of it, but definitely fast and quick too.
I mean, that comparison, seriously, and all these men definitely put together, I'd say completely remind me of you just from the few matches that I've seen, and of course your own unique spin on it. For you, Crowbar, we talked about the locker room in ECW, and I think it was after that you went to WWF for the lightweight tournament. Yeah. Is that how the timeline works?
Yes. Yep.
What was that experience like for you heading into that locker room? Was it a little different? I know it was one of the crazier times in wrestling in general, but the atmosphere must have been crazy.
Crazier time, and also just the whole experience with what was going on. I was a full-time student in physical therapy school on internship, which they don't play when you're on that part of your curriculum. You're in your last year, and I got a call to go do Raw against Ace Darling, and then to go out there and work Taka Michinoku in the first round of the first ever WWF light heavyweight tournament. And so I had to go to my CI, my clinical instructor, say, is there any way I could possibly make this? And I will make up the hours whenever you guys need. And thank God they were super understanding, and and I flew out there, and it was just amazing being part of the WWF, and the talent in that locker room was so, and I always say this, when you get involved in pro wrestling, way back then, now not so much, but way back then, it wasn't fashionable to admit you're a huge fan, or to admit or profess your love of what we do. And I'm like, oh my God, these are guys that I love watching. This is great. It was super intimidating. I was starstruck by everyone around me. And then having the experience to go out there on Raw and to compete in their first ever light heavyweight tournament was just amazing. It was an amazing, amazing experience. Never forget it to this day. And that set the stage for what would come next in WCW. It was definitely, and at that time, like a cool story that not many people know about was I was doing light heavyweight stuff. At that time, WWF did not have a trainer or a therapist or anybody on the road with the guys, and Jim Cornette was actually pushing heavily to have me be an opening match guy and also be the on the road physical therapist, and it just kind of fell apart, never materialized for whatever reason. But that made it even more exciting that was kind of looming in the background as well.
That's a very cool story. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. So do you think you'd ever want to try to pursue something like that in wrestling? Maybe when you hang up the boots, I know you have your own practice, but specifically geared towards wrestling.
A lot of people ask that, and I love pro wrestling. I love going on. I love doing the big shows. I love going out there working my ass off, and I hate traveling. I hate getting up at 4 a.m. I hate getting up at, I hate going to the airport, getting the rent-a-car. I hate being away from my family. But if I'm going to go out there and wrestle, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it, and I'll do all that to be able to enjoy myself and to show what I can still do. When I can't do that anymore, I don't want to get up for an airplane at 4 in the morning. I don't want to get up at, you know, I don't want to hop into Uber. I don't want to do that on a regular basis. There's no, you know, if I were to be an on the road physical therapist, or I've had people ask me, would you ever want to be an agent or a coach? You know, so that would, you know, honestly be the equivalent of an office job.
Mm-hmm.
I have an office job. I have my practice 3 minutes from my house. You know what I mean? So that really doesn't interest me. If I'm on a show as a wrestler and a younger guy asks my advice on something about wrestling or an injury, I'll never tell somebody no. I'll always offer. But when the time comes when I can't physically perform at the level that I want to perform at, and I'm not going on the road to wrestle, that's gonna be it. I really have no interest at all in a pro wrestling office job. You know, I love physical therapy. I have a great office job 3 minutes from my house, where I'm the boss, and you know, I can make my hours and stuff like that. So it's just not really something that I'm interested in, you know, unfortunately. You know, some people don't understand. It's, you know, like I love wrestling. I hate the wrestling grind that goes with it, the early fights and all that type of stuff. And when the wrestling isn't there for the payoff, you know, for me to go and enjoy myself, make some money, and have a great time, then I'm done.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it makes sense. And Adam, for you, what has been the biggest stage that you've been on so far, the biggest show that you've been on? I'd love to hear that, and if you had nerves heading into it beforehand.
Oh man. Biggest show. I mean,
2019 would have to be.
What's that?
Would have to be 2019 now.
Yeah. The Rescue Mania.
No, the Ring of Honor. I think
Ring of Honor. Yeah.
I mean, but outside of like,
but so here's where, you know, for as far as the nerves go, Ring of Honor was Ring of Honor was absolutely the biggest show I've ever been a part of, and it was awesome to be there. And also walking in the door with somebody like Crowbar is just instant credibility. Like, okay, this guy's not a knucklehead. He, you know, how many?
There you are.
But I honestly, being on the same side with Crowbar, you know, I guess he's my nerves. You know, I really had no nerves. I was very confident in my abilities. I'd say the worst nerves I ever had was our match against each other.
Yeah.
We did a fundraiser show for the fire department and for veterans, and we had about 1,200, 1,300 people there in
a lot of people.
In a college gym. We raised a lot of money for a lot of good organizations, and you know, and I'm backstage and I'm going through, you know, I'm just getting mentally prepared for the match and everything. And I had this huge grand WrestleMania type entrance with veterans and firemen.
I think everyone should go watch that. I saw that and I love that entrance.
You know, and Toby Keith, Blair, and courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, on the card, Crowbar goes out first and I come out second, because I was just short of a flyover for a WrestleMania entrance.
Yeah.
Which I worked on. The Air National Guard, they said, no way. It's a closed gym. What's the point anyway? But I knew next time.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the stairwell, and you know, I'm getting ready in my head, and all of a sudden somebody grabs me, says, "Hey, they messed up. Your music's playing. Everybody's out there. Go." And if you look at the pictures of that show, here I am, combat veteran, Mr. America, huge flag, all this great grand entrance. And if you look closely, I just have no color in my face. I'm completely blank, and I'm just nervous because I'm like, oh man, I wasn't ready for this. And honestly, it took Crowbar drop kicking me in the face outside the ring to kind of like reset the switch, and I was good to go. But yeah, as far as nerves, I'd say that was probably even in my tryout, it was kind of I had a tryout match against a man from Chicago, Jake Oman, and a lot of fun, great match. And I was nervous because of the implications of what it could mean. A lot of eyeballs on me. They had the whole NXT roster there watching, and I'm nervous, and I'm right behind the curtain, and I feel nauseous. I'm like, man, I'm going to throw up. I was like, oh. And then I just kind of stopped. I was like, how many times have I done this by now? I'm like, I know what I'm doing. You got this. Let's go. So even that, my nerves weren't as bad for that as mine and Crowbar's WrestleMania match. And Rescue Mania, not WrestleMania. Not yet.
It might as well have been with the entrance.
Seriously. Not yet.
Soon. Yeah.
But that was match, so much fun. Nerves, all-time high. Great match. But honestly, and Crowbar can attest to, one of the things that we both love doing is helping the community. And that was probably the best part of the show. It was great wrestling. Everybody in that building had fun. As soon as the final bell rang, everybody wanted to know when's the next one. But we both love giving back to communities, to our respective communities, to each other's communities. Like I said, Crowbar does a lot of work in his. I coach youth football here. 2 different teams, both of which are playoff bound currently. Had to put that over. I do a lot. We do a lot. I do a lot of work with veterans. Crowbar does as well. Those experiencing homelessness, just you name it. We both got our hands in it. Because what's the point of having a platform if you're not going to do something beneficial? If you're not going to help people? If you're not going to give those below you a hand up, then what's the point? Then you're just wasting space and burning up oxygen for no reason.
I love that. It's super commendable on you both too, really. And Crowbar, to hand it over to you to continue that timeline after the lightweight competition, you went to WCW, and and it was there where the name that stands out of most fans' minds, Crowbar, came to be, right?
Yes.
It was in WCW. Can you talk about that story and just walk into that locker room for the first time?
I was signed, and I was actually on the Saturday night show as Devin Storm for probably 6-7 matches, maybe. A more gothic version of myself, dark hair, eyeliner, where I was previously bleach blonde, so this was a whole new look. And I was being groomed as a upcoming cruiserweight. They were going to start me on the Saturday night show, eventually to bring me up to a Nitro as this evil, aggressive, high-flying cruiserweight guy. And as the story goes, I was in Denver, Colorado, and I had flown down there to do the Saturday night show, which was usually, I believe, on a Wednesday. I got to the hotel, and the crew was returning from either Nitro or Thunder. I walked in to the hotel bar / restaurant, and I had like my hair down. I had this leather jacket on, and supposedly Vince Russo saw me, and he goes, "Who is that guy?" He liked my look, and at that time, David Flair was this psychopathic gimmick, going around backstage whacking people with a crowbar. He had Daffney with him, and for whatever reason, he was popping a rating. People liked tuning in to see what the hell David Flair was doing. He was getting a rating. But at that time, David Flair, not a strong in-ring performer. So I guess they came to the idea, let's put him in a tag team with somebody that could do the majority of the wrestling. That way we could get David and his partner and Daffney out there, and we could still have wrestling matches, and his partner could cover it up. And that's how I got my break. We shot the vignette at a gas station where I was this crazy guy pumping gas. David and Daphne's being pursued by Vampiro and the Misfits, and he's being chased. He pulls into the gas station, fills up with gas. He asked me what my name is. I said, some people call me Crowbar. Click, we both click, and we meet. Our eyes meet. And then later on in the vignette, Vampiro come and him and the Misfits attack David, and I come out with this big pipe and I clear them all out, and yada yada yada. I like Seinfeld. Yada yada yada. But the following week, we become tag team champions. Crazy.
That is crazy. And some things from that story, we hear a lot over the years about Vince Russo. What was it like working with Vince Russo in WCW for you? What was your experience like?
How can I talk bad? I was on course to be a cruiserweight guy, which might have panned out great. Who knows? But he gifted me with a character, and he gave me a lot of freedom to be that character. He would always give me ideas, but he would say, "Bro," he loved using "bro." If you have any ideas, just let me know. And more often than not, he would let me run with these ideas. He really gave me a lot of creative freedom with the character, which was great. A whole lot of fun, and I always got along great with Vince. I still get along great with Vince, and very very grateful for the opportunity that he gave me.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's really cool to hear. I've heard a lot of good things from the wrestlers who did work with Vince. Different things in the community, obviously, but that's cool to say. Somebody else you mentioned, obviously, in that run was Daphne, who tragically lost recently. And I'd love to hear some of your memories of working with her.
She was just, like I said, I hate to simplify it. She was just sunshine. You go in a room and she's there. Nice to everybody. Lights up a room. Wrestling wise, she was an actress by trade that answered a casting call to be David Flair's girlfriend. But after that, once I got involved, I was there with Shane Helms, and she hung out with us often. And we had found out that she had a cheerleading or gymnastics background. So she was eager to learn. So we would teach her Frankensteiners, tornado DDTs, and stuff where we could put them into the wrestling matches, and that enhanced us as a whole product. But just great person. Me, her, David. We were three big kids just enjoying the ride, just happy to be there. There's never any issues really with us, or we were just having a great time. And to see her with fans, we're all good with fans. We all try to be good with fans. I try to take my time, sign this and that. She would take exorbitant amounts of time. Hey, how are you? How's school?
Yeah.
What kind of sports do you play? Who's this? Who's that? Oh, and who's it? And she would stay and talk with these kids and really give of herself. It was very, very commendable to see the way she was with her fans.
That's so cool to hear.
Well, second to none. Yeah. Well,
Adam, you said you were you were a fan of Crowbar in those WCW days. Do you remember anything specific that Crowbar saying? Do you remember seeing anything that really got you interested when watching?
He loves posting the clip of it, that choke slam that he took through the announce table from the ring apron. I remember that, and it's fun until the first time he posted that. Excuse me, I get, how long ago was that? I didn't even, when I watched it and then I met him, I never put two and two together until the first time he shared that clip.
So cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, so much.
I would never do that again.
The hardcore championship run was great. What'd you say?
It was.
I would never do that again. Oh my God.
No, I mean, I wish I would have been able to meet him as a fan and him as a wrestler, and then come back, some odd years later and be like, "Hey, it's me."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so.
Let
I
him no
love
sell
that.
it.
Well,
Like, yeah, no, I remember you.
you mentioned off camera, Adam, but you and Crowbar are currently tag team champions of, is it ISPW? Did you say was the promotion?
Yes.
ISPW, Independent
ISP.
Superstars of Pro Wrestling.
Nice. And I'd love to hear the story from one of you or both of how that felt, how it happened, the match. You want to take it, Adam? Yeah.
Won it. I'll start. It was a triple threat TLC match in Butler, New Jersey.
It's even cooler. Wow.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I got my bell rung a little bit, so it was a little painful for me, but it was awesome. The best part, besides again, teaming with one of my best friends, which is always a perk, was the crowd loved the match. They were into it from start to finish. They were on their feet the entire time, and that's ultimately why we do what we do. If the crowd sat there and was like, "This is terrible," then it doesn't matter what the outcome was. It's all for naught. But no, from my perspective, being able to share it, it was our first championship together.
Yep.
So that's fun. That's a nice experience, and it's the first of many. Heard it here first.
Absolutely. I love tag team wrestling. I freaking love tag team wrestling. And if you go through my career from Devon Storm all the way through, a lot of my career was spent as a tag team wrestler. A lot of people identify me now as mainly a singles guy, but the majority of my career going years back with Ace Darling, we were on the independents for years, week in, week out, doing tag matches. And then David Flair and I, we tagged. Mike Awesome in WCW and I, we tagged a handful of times. And then now me and Adam. And I think tag team wrestling is such a great art. And I think it's a lost art. When you watch a lot of tag team wrestling now, a lot of it looks like two singles matches happening. You got four guys having two singles matches. I love, we worked with the Now and what's the other team's name? I forget. The Birds of the Sun. Sons of the Sun, with the Birds of the Sun. And I'm a sucker for old school tag teams where the guys match, where they look like they're a team, where they look like a unit. We don't match, but our stuff kind of works. We're kind of this gothy thing going on. But I love uniform tag teams. I love double team maneuvers. When you're heels, I love fake tags, turning the refs back and with the cheating and stuff like that. I love old school, two guys working to cut off the ring and beat the other team down, as opposed to just two singles matches going on. And whenever we've worked, we've always seemed to have the crowd sucked in to the match, because I think that old school formula still works. And I don't think that people see it a lot. So when you give it to them and it's presented in the right fashion, it really is art. It really is magic. And I think the people enjoy it a whole lot. Sucker for tag team wrestling. Love it.
I could just if I could piggyback off that, I also feel like when fans may not even know it, but when they see a good tag match that makes sense, it stands out to them a lot more than just a regular tag match that's thrown together. And that's one thing that us being partners, it wasn't just kind of, oh, hey, you guys are together, just figure it out, make it work. Like, no, like we go and we train together and we work on things together and we talk about things. And again, it doesn't matter what hour of the night, whether it's talking about, hey, I have this idea or I have that idea. Yeah. It's a genuine team effort, and it's not, and Crowbar being who he is, he could very easily just say, hey, like, you just listen to me. I'm not listening to a goddamn thing you have to tell me.
Now,
But he doesn't. It's very it's back and forth, very even. And I mean, I do let him lead the way, obviously, because of who he is, his experience, and he has a lot of it.
Many times, either at the house or even separately over the phone, but having a couple beers and say, "Hey, what if we did this?" Or I'll see something on like an old WWE thing, and I'll video record. I'll go, "Dude, what if we use this, but we tweak this and this so that it fits us like it?"
Yeah.
And it's fun, it's enjoyable, and I think we come out with some really, really good stuff. And at the end of the day, the goal is to come out with some really good stuff that the people don't see a lot of, and that's safe. And I'm not knocking anybody at all or wrestling at all, but there's a lot of crazy stuff out there that might not be the safest. Our stuff is safe and it looks good. And at the end of the day, I love when we all come back from a match and say, "Wow, it was good," and everybody's okay.
That's that's the best. I mean, what else could you ask for? And I love the idea of you guys talking about tag team moves too. That's so cool as a fan. Something you mentioned, Crowbar, I didn't even realize that you tagged with Mike Awesome. Could I ask you about that? How was someone like Mike Awesome to tag with?
We were the 70s guys. So for a cup of coffee. So the gimmick was awful. I really think that Mike Awesome as Mike Awesome and Crowbar as Crowbar would have been a really cool tag team. But we had a couple of just, incidental tag matches that didn't amount to much. But it was fun working with Mike. I had a great time. Nice guy. But I think that there would have been a whole lot more potential if we were more of our standard hardcore selves as opposed to, out there in bell bottoms and stuff.
No, definitely. Another guy just.
But it was fun.
Athletic.
We had fun with it. We made the most of it. We laughed at it, and we had a good time. We had a good time being these two nutty guys for a couple weeks. So it was cool.
Right. And you just mentioned hardcore, a hardcore run that you had, but a program you worked was with Terry Funk. And I know you looked up to him immensely, right? And still do. So can you talk about your relationship with Terry Funk and how that was for you, just being involved with him in general, a legend like that?
One of my favorite matches as a fan was, I always say this, the New York Knockout, Flair versus Funk, I Quit match. And that match was essentially a hardcore match before the term hardcore was coined.
Right.
And it was done in a fashion that when I was in WCW, I did their version of hardcore, which sometimes meant big garbage can with baseball bats and random weapons inside, put in the ring, and dumped out, and you guys whack each other with it. That's what I was being paid to do, so I did it. Not my favorite as a fan. What was special about the Flair Funk match was they used weapons, but it was naturally occurring things at ringside. Pull up a mat, use a guardrail, use a chair, use the ringside table, use things that happen at ringside. So if I'm doing a hardcore match now, rails are in play. If there's mats down, I think the visual of the bad guy or the heel going and picking up the mat to slam somebody on it is a great visual. Chairs naturally occur at ringside. The ring bell naturally occurs at ringside. Microphone wires. No more wires, but sometimes there's wires from the AV,
right,
the speakers or something. There's something there. I'll even go as far as a garbage can. If you spill out into the crowd and you're fighting and there happens to be a trash can there, use it. It naturally occurs. Right. The one exception, I think that with the tables are grandfathered in for whatever reason, as a business, we accept that there's a stack of tables underneath the ring for whatever reason. So,
right.
we need the tables. But again, and that's fine. That's just the way the business is now. But I don't like things hanging off of the ring post. I hate the garbage can filled with crap, and when they come in the ring, dump it out and use all the plunder. Just not my thing. So anyhow, that match really captivated me. Became a huge fan, an even bigger fan of Flair and Funk. So fast forward to the time in WCW, I'm wrestling Terry Funk for the hardcore title on Starrcade, which was their version of WrestleMania. Mind blowing. Can't be more grateful for it. Incredible experience. That's one of the things it's just one of the things that I never thought in a million years would happen, and I'm just eternally grateful for it. Just awesome.
Of course, yeah, that's so cool. And I'm a huge fan of Terry too, and I know what you're talking about. I've seen you hit that use the guardrail in such a creative way with that. I get like a Vader bomb out of the corner of the rails. I thought that was so innovative, so unique, and yeah, it's like naturally occurring. You don't even see what you're going to go for. So I love that. A person who I watched hit the Tongan death grip on you through a chair that I thought was such a cool spot was Mang or Haku. Can you talk about Haku a little bit? Is he as crazy as we all hear the stories, and that specific spot too?
Yeah, they say he's crazy. Super tough guy, well documented tough guy. Was always so super nice to me. I have no idea if he just liked me or because I was friends with guys, but he was just always genuinely a big teddy bear to me. Just a great guy. I saw him recently at the a signing in December last year, and then at ISPW's what was the show at Menon Arena called?
80s WrestleCon.
Yeah, 80s WrestleCon. Got to see him again, and it's I mean, he's just one of those guys you love to see go up, give a big hug to, and he's really one of my favorite people. He's just such a great guy, but as what the legends have it, don't be on his bad side. He's legitimately a super badass, but I love the guy. He's just awesome. Great guy.
Absolutely. That chair when he hit that through the chair was
right through it. Both, yeah.
Right through. I loved it. I love to see it.
Great visual.
Adam, yeah, it's amazing visual. Yeah. Adam, for you, a match I was watching earlier, one of my favorites is you got in the ring with Homicide. Which I thought was so cool. Being a New Yorker, always seen Homicide at the shows. How was that for you? What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. It was a lot of times on the indies, you get a lot of people that want to do a lot of things, and you'll get a guy that, well, I want to do this. Well, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would somebody 5'3", 140 pounds body slam me for no reason? You get a lot of that, and Homicide was so nice, so easy to work with, and it was just, and him, one of the things too, and this is something Crowbar's always told me too, is you got to protect yourself. You have to protect your size, you have to protect your character, and everything. That whole match with Homicide, actually, it's funny because sometimes you do it for a while, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that match. It was good because it was like everything, like you said, everything made sense,
Right.
And that's really what stands out to me the most. It was so easy. He was such a nice guy to work with. Actually the company, it was Progress and Magic. They wanted him to win the match, actually, and he did not. So when we got backstage, everybody was nervous because they thought that I went into business for myself. And really, it was Homicide being a pro and just, I don't know if I'm pulling back the curtain too much, but it was just him saying, "Hey, it doesn't make sense for me to win. You're going to win." So, and I thought that was really nice. I'm a professional. If you're booking me on your show, I'm gonna do what you want me to do, as long as it makes sense. So of course, yeah, losing a homicide, that's nothing terrible.
Right.
But I was like, oh wow, and I ribbed the guys in Magic a little bit, and I was like, yeah, no, it's like I do what I want. But eventually we thought like, no, this is why it went down the way it did. And honestly, yeah, a really fun match, and I would love to do it again. And we worked with them again. Actually, Crowbar and Homicide had a match at ISPW, and I was outside the ring for that one. And and again, same thing. It was very good. He did his he doesn't do a lot of those suicide dives too much anymore, but he trusted me enough to hit me with one.
Yeah,
that's
he's
awesome.
He's an awesome guy, and we've been together on the Northeast Independence forever, and we've never touched, which is kind of weird. So we worked first for ISPW, and then recently for Outlaw Wrestling in Brooklyn, and we have this feud going on, and I love working with it. He's so good. He's such a professional. He's just so good at what he does, and I can't believe that it took this many years for us to actually start working each other. So it's an absolute pleasure. I get what Adam's saying. I mean, it's just a great experience. I always love going out there to wrestle. Always love it. But it's just extra special when you have an experience like that. And he's just a complete pro, awesome guy. And I can't wait to lock up with him again.
That's really cool to hear. Crowbar, for you, last guy I want to ask you about, who you had some great run-ins with. I heard you say one of your favorite matches too of your career was with SABU.
Absolutely.
The cage match, definitely. Can you talk about your relationship with him and why you guys clicked so well in the ring?
Well, I always say this. I think it was 94 or 93. I think 94. If it wasn't for SABU, there would have never been Crowbar. I worked him for Dennis Carluzzo, and I was a young green guy, up and comer, doing all the flying around stuff. And Dennis put me with him, and he was already a made guy, and he could have very easily given me the minimum, or just beat me up, or just said, "Hey kid, you're not doing anything. I'm taking my stuff." He let me shine. He let me do what I could do. He made me look like a star, not once but twice, way back then. And it was those two matches that really got my name out there and really got me out there into the mainstream. From those two matches, I had my first Nitro against Conan. It was those two matches that really put me out there on the map. And Kevin Sullivan called and said, "Hey, I heard about your work with SABU. We saw you stuff, blah 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 blah. We want to bring you down to Nitro." So it all goes back to those two matches. He could have easily just done the bare minimum or said, "I'm doing all my stuff and you're not going to shine." He let some new green kid look good and really shine. And had it not been for those matches, I honestly think that my career would have not gone where it did go. And then fast forward to after WCW, we rekindled our feud for the World Wrestling All-Stars. We had a pay-per-view match in Las Vegas that ended in like me going up with Bill Alfonso with a miscommunication on a chair, and then he dropped his leg off this giant screen and like put me through the table for like some post-match thing, to which that prompted us to have to settle it in a steel cage over in Australia. And that's one match that I'm super proud of. We put a lot of thought into it, a lot of energy, and watching it back, I'm even to this day, I will put that cage match up against anybody's. I think it's strong. I think it works great. I think it tells a story, and we just do some wild stuff in there. It was some exciting, wild stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, that's so cool to hear. Both Sabu and Bill Alfonso, former guests. I mean, they were so cool with this concept too, gave great advice, great guys, really. So cool to hear that with you and Sabu. Adam, for you, winding it down, what would you say? You might have mentioned already, if you had one moment, a favorite moment between you and Crowbar, maybe something we've seen on screen or not, what do you think that would be that resonates with you well?
Favorite moment. I don't know. I don't know. There's honestly so many moments. You know, from the drives to us hanging out in his oasis of a backyard, which is a summer regularity. I'd have to say, probably our first match together was kind of, you know, I'm just a rookie. I don't know anything. And like I said before, it was kind of like, why does this guy who's been all over the world and been on TV and I grew up watching want to wrestle me? It wasn't something I asked for. It was, hey, I want to work with him. And I remember when they told me, I was like, why? And then, you know, again, my third match ever and going up against somebody of his caliber, it was definitely, I don't want to say a notch on my belt, but it definitely was a big boost as far as my confidence in the ring and knowing that, you know, I just went with this guy who's one of the best in the world, and, you know, and still to this day, still going. I mean, you see the tapes, I see firsthand. And just knowing that somebody like this, you know, he talks about Sabu giving him a chance to shine. He didn't have to do that for me. He never had to. I could have just been a patient of his and just, you know, hey, thanks, bye, see you when you get hurt again, dummy. But he didn't. He's really taken time out of his life, professionally and personally, to look out for me, to mentor me, to always keep me on the right track and make me better, you know. And so I guess there are more than one moment, too many moments. But
Thanks,
I'm very grateful for
Yes,
Crowbar, and you know, without him, I probably wouldn't be talking to you here today.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, man. I love this guy. He's awesome. Thank you.
I love to see it.
Virtual hug.
And Adam, last question for you. What can we expect for your future? You got any long-term or short-term goals in your career that we should be on the lookout for?
Career-wise, just be better. Be better in the ring, be better in my character. Whether it's Kerr, whether it's Percival, whether it's in singles by myself or teaming with Crowbar, just be better and make everybody safe. I'm a staple at Northeast Wrestling now, and
Nice.
I love my time up there. And I love doing that. I love teaming with Crowbar at ISBW. I love any opportunity to get into the ring. I genuinely look forward to. And like I said, as long as the fans are entertained, they're invested. They're invested in me. Even if it's just to come up and say hello, and maybe if I sign a flag for them, you know, to me, time's the one thing you're not getting back. So if somebody wants to take 5 minutes, whether it's a kid or, you know, a 40-year-old man that wants to come up and talk to me, I'm never the guy to blow them off. So just, you know, career-wise, keep having good matches, keep positively impacting people's lives, and let's see how long this gravy train rides for.
Absolutely. And I mean, just talking to you for the first time here, you really come across well and genuine and everything. Thank you for that. Great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great answer.
He's a great guy. He's a great dude.
No, you could tell. And with such an illustrious career for you, Crowbar, same question. What could we expect long-term or short-term for you? This obviously you're on a current run doing a lot of really cool creative things with Adam and your wife. And then you've got still your own project. So what can we expect?
Yeah, this past year has been really, really cool. Huge thanks to ISPW, Outlaw Wrestling, WrestlePro. Huge thanks to the Conrad for bringing me down to StarCast to do Flair's last match, Black Label Pro. And there's some cool stuff on the horizon. Recently, too, I don't leave out Beyond Wrestling and Wrestling Open, which 3-hour drive for me, and I gladly make that drive. Some great talent up there, great energy. So it's for all these companies. I'm just having a great time. A lot of opportunities, being a tag champs for ISPW, world champion for Outlaw, some great matches. Rich Swann was one of the matches, which was unreal. Mike Knox and there's some cool stuff coming in the upcoming months that I really can't mention right now. But I'm excited about it. But I guess to wrap it, I love going out there and challenging myself. I hope in the process I entertain the people, but I like going out there against guys that could go and guys that can work hard. And I get a real kick out of being able to hang with these guys and be able to perform. I've been using this phrase lately, at the level that I do. I'm very proud of it. I work hard at it. I hit the gym, and it's fun interacting with the people online and stuff like that. I love working with Adam. I really hope to be able to do a lot more tag stuff. As I said before, love tag team wrestling. But if I'm not tag wrestling and he's in the corner with my wife Dina, that's awesome. I don't know where it goes. People ask me, what are you doing? And I go, there's this thing going on. I have no idea what it is, but there's more and more opportunities presenting themselves. And I'm just enjoying the ride, having a really good time. I hope the people are enjoying what they see. I hope the people that get to work with me have a great experience working with me. I'm having a great time working with a lot of these newer young talent that like to go, and a lot of them are shocked when I say, let's go out there and let's tear it up. When I broke in and you would work a veteran, it was usually, let's take it easy, grab a hold, and that's not me. I want to test myself. I want to make my opponent better. I want to make our whole shtick stand out. Me, myself, Adam, my wife, and I'm just rambling right now. I'm just having a great time. I'm going to make the most of whatever comes. And when I can't do it at the level that I'm doing right now, I enjoy going out there, watching my matches back and saying, yeah, I'm still going like I did 20 years ago. When that moment stops, I'm done. Right. And I just hope me being in those locker rooms enhances the place, enhances the environment. Maybe teach some guys some stuff, and I'm just looking for really good memories with some really good people, and we'll see where it goes. I really don't know what this is. And I love that guy on the other side. Love the road trips. Love the tagging with him. Love his friendship. Very, very blessed that he's come into my life. And
likewise,
he's like my brother. So
you could tell.
It's just we'll see.
Very much like one.
And when I'm done, if I could watch this guy rise, I see so much potential in this guy. He has so many tools, and if somebody just can see what I see, this guy is just a star, a complete star. And I hope one day to see that happen. When I'm at home watching with my kids and my wife saying, yeah, that's effing Adam, and he's tearing stuff up, and it's great,
Thank you, bro. I
seriously
appreciate it.
Awesome. Final question for you, Crowbar, and you've given such great advice, and we see the relationship, amazing brotherhood. Any lasting words of wisdom that you could offer, Adam? Any advice?
Work hard. You're going to come across a lot of naysayers. There's been times in my career where people were down on me, and there's times where people are up on you, and it comes in ebbs and flows. And there's waves where you'll be the flavor of the month, and there's waves where people are going to be trashing on you, but knowing your heart, what your goal is, where you want to go, and always stand true. I use my worst criticisms, my worst bashings as worst trolls as fuel. I don't take it to heart. If there is truth in criticism, I try to see it, and I try to weed out what's not truth. But I try to take criticism, I try to take negativity and use it as fuel to better myself. And so don't let the haters get you down. I've been around haters my whole career, be it fans or insiders or other wrestlers, for that matter. Always believe in yourself. Know what your goal is. Know in your heart what you can do, because you have a ton of tools. He's so talented in so many ways. Use those tools. Use all the negative as fuel, and be safe. Just be safe. That's a huge thing. And I didn't get that until later on in my career, but I got it soon enough to where I was able to preserve my career and still be doing it at 48 years old at this level. Safety's huge. All the time. Don't be afraid to say no if something sounds stupid or unsafe. Don't be afraid to say no. And just be nice. Just be nice. Yeah. Be nice to people. Bill and Ted.
Everybody love everybody.
Be excellent to each other. And that's it. And just he's a great guy. Don't let wrestling change you. And that's it, man. Love you, dude.
I appreciate it. I love you, bro.
That's solid. Well, thank you both. I mean, that finishes us up. This has been awesome, seriously, to see this relationship on display. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate
Thank you, man.
it. Thank
appreciate
you
it. Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.